Hi all, welcome back. In the previous session, I was discussing about controlling one of the functions of management. Today also I will be continuing with that. So in controlling, we have seen the various techniques that are used to control, such as budgets, financial statements, return on investment, Gantt chart, and two more are there. One is called PERT and the other one MIS. So let's see what it is and what is the way of controlling using these two. So PERT is the fifth controlling technique. So network analysis using PERT. The full form of PERT is Program or Project Evaluation Review Technique. Program or Project Evaluation Review Technique. It is a popular project management tool which is based on network analysis that allows the production managers to plan, manage and control complex projects. So it is a management tool, project management tool used by managers in order to control, manage and plan the projects. So PERT is a method to analyze the tasks involved in completing a given project. So if a new project is at hand, what the manager should do is first they have to plan. Depending on the plan, they will have to identify the various tasks and also find the time needed to complete each task and the minimum time needed to complete the entire project. So they have to pre-plan. They will get a project and according to that they will have to find out the total time to complete the project. So for that they can make use of PERT. So the terms related to network analysis using PERT. So these are the various terms you should be familiar with when you are dealing with PERT. So network diagram, event, activity, critical activities, non-critical activities, critical path. These are the 6 terms you should familiarize yourself. So what is a network diagram? It is a diagram which represents all the events and activities in sequence along with their interrelationships and with their interdependencies. Okay, so what it is? So I told you whenever manager gets a new project, he will have to identify, have to plan things. Okay, so what are the different tasks that will be involved in order to complete this particular project? How long each task will take? What is the minimum time of completion of the project? These things. Okay, so task means there will be activities. Okay, so you have to identify in a network diagram, you will specify all the activities and what is the interconnection between different activities and interdependencies, whether one activity is dependent on the other. In that case, you should connect these two accordingly. Okay, or what is the relationship between two different activities? Okay, all these things will be there in the network diagram. So all the activities involved in that project along with their interdependencies and interrelationship will be mentioned in the diagram. It is the result or output of the planning function. So you have a plan will be written down and based on the plan you will prepare a network diagram. So it is not drawn to a time scale. Time will not be specified, only the activities involved and the interdependencies will be marked and interrelationship also. From this diagram a schedule can be developed. So based on the diagram you can prepare a schedule. So that is how long it will take for the completion of the project. That can be developed from this diagram. So that is network diagram. Okay. Next is event. An event is a specific instant of time which marks start or end of an activity. I told you there will be multiple tasks involved in any project and the time of starting of a particular activity or end of an activity is called an event. So event consumes neither time nor resources. So event means start of an activity or end of an activity. So event will not consume any time or resources. It doesn't need resource, it is just the beginning, end. Okay, so it is represented by a circle and the event number is written within the circle. So what is the event number? Number will be given there. Okay, 1 2 3 like that. Event numbers will be given for each event. Next term is activity. Every project consists of a number of tasks which are called activities. Here in the network diagram, each activity is called each task is called an activity. So activity is shown by an arrow and it begins and ends with an event. So when an activity starts, there will be an event, and also at the end of the activity there will be another event. In between there will be an arrow showing the activity. So unlike event, an activity consumes time and resources, isn't it? So whenever you are doing a particular task, we need time to do that task, and also for that particular task what all resources you need that. Okay, so the activity consumes both time and resources. It's not like event. An event is just the beginning or end of an activity and it will not need any time or resources. So you can name activity like activity A, B, C, etc. So activities are classified as critical activities and non-critical activities. So critical activities means if critical activity, if an activity's delay may extend the project, that is called critical activity. If an activity is getting delayed, if the end of the project is not delayed, it is called non-critical activity. In a network diagram, critical activities are those if consume more than their estimated time, project will be delayed. As I said, a critical activity is marked either by a thick arrow or as shown in the figure. So you can represent a critical activity by a thick arrow or thick line according to your liking. Non-critical activities have provision so that even if they consume more time also, that won't affect the end of the project. So that is non-critical activities, activities which will not delay the entire project even if that particular activity is delayed by few days or few weeks. Critical path, it is that sequence of activities which decide the total project duration. So what will be the project duration? This particular path, okay, in the network diagram will give you the total project duration. So that is the critical path. Okay, so I'll show you how you can find out the critical path. Critical path is formed by critical activities. The activities that are there in the critical path are critical activities. So it is the largest path and consumes maximum time. Okay, so the expected completion dates cannot be met if even one critical activity is delayed. So critical path always comprises of multiple critical activities. So if any one critical activity in that path gets delayed, in that case the completion date of the project will also get delayed. So total project duration is the duration of the critical path always. So you can look at this figure. This is a network diagram, and in the network diagram you can see nodes like this. These nodes are the events. So you have numbers, numerical numbers are given for each event, and this is the end, this is the beginning of the activity A, and this is the end of activity A, and this is the activity path, you can say. Okay, and this is also another activity. So you can see an arrow here. It is terminated with an arrow. The activity name is C, and activity begins with this event and it ends with this event. Similarly, this side also B, D, and this is the last event. So from this figure, normally the number of days will not be specified in network diagram, but for explanation's sake, in this figure, this number of days are mentioned. So this activity, you can see activities are A, B, C, D and E. There are total 5 activities in order to reach the completion point 5. Okay, now you can see here A activity will take 5 days, C activity will take 6 days and E will take 3 days. So this path will take a total time of 11 plus 3, 14 days, isn't it? So this will take 14 days, and if this is the path I am taking, here this comprises of B, D and E. B 4, D 4, so 8, 8 plus 3, 11. So this path take 11 days and this takes 14 days. Since the length of this path is more, this will be your critical path. 1, 2, 4 and 5 is your critical path. So in that case, if any one of these activity A, C or E, if any one of these 3 activities gets delayed, your end date will get delayed. But if there is a delay in activity B or D, there won't be much problem because this is not the critical path. Activities that are there in the critical path are very critical. So you have to make sure that the activities that are within the critical path should be completed in time. Hope you understood what an event is, what an activity is, the activity duration, then you have the critical path. So that is the 5th control technique, PERT. So now let's move on to the last control technique, that is management information system. So the term management information system is defined as a formal system of gathering, integrating, comparing, analyzing and dispersing internal as well as external information to the enterprise in a timely, effective and efficient manner. So MIS is Management Information System. So this system is there for the management, the people who is managing the project. Okay, so they need to get information for planning, for controlling, okay, for comparing different things. Okay, so they need information, so they will be collecting the information both from inside as well as outside the organization. So this management information system will collect the information and it will store in such a way that the managers or whoever needs that information at any point of time, they can go and take the information from the system. So that is a management information system. For your sake, I can give you an example. Our ERP system in college is an example. You can take it as an example for management information system. So there we teachers will be entering your marks, assignment marks and all. Based on that, the internal marks will be fixed. Okay, at any point of time, HOD or principal can check the ERP and they can plan for next semester, or also they can control the current semester. So that can be taken as an example for your understanding. So management information system, it is a computerized database of information organized and programmed in such a way that it produces regular reports. So report taking is very easy in MIS system. Once every day we will be feeding in the that day's information, and finally at any point of time, if you want to get a report, it will be easy for you to just take a printout of that report. That point of time, whenever somebody asks you, if your manager asks you for a report, or if the manager wants to know the maximum sales for the last week, he can just go in, take a printout of that from the system. So that will be very easy for whoever needs the information. So it is a system that provides relevant information in the right form and the right time to different managers for the purpose of planning and control. So if you have a management information system, it will be useful for managers for the purpose of planning and control. So by improving the quality and quantity and timeliness of information, MIS makes planning and control more effective and efficient. So you can, once you start using MIS, you will learn how to improve that, improve the quality and quantity and timely information. That is very important. So how can you improve that so that the managers can plan and control more effectively and efficiently. So what are the components of MIS, and let's see the relationship. So there are six components are there. A management information is made up of five major components. All of these components must work together to achieve business objects. So 5 components are there for your MIS. So let's see the components. So these are the 5 components. People, whoever is using MIS, data, what data are you giving in, process, what is the process of converting the data, then the hardware and software related to this MIS. So people are the users who use the information system, whether it be managers or those who are feeding in the data to record the day-to-day business transactions. The users are usually qualified professionals such as accountants, human resource managers, or according to the organization or institution, the users will change. Data. It is the collection of facts and figures which is processed by applying different procedures to obtain useful information. So that is the information you are feeding in to the system. So whatever information you have, if you are working in the marketing department, you are going out and you are collecting the sales, you are conversing with the dealers and you are collecting the sales, what is the current rate, sales rate, you can take it, you bring it and you can feed into your system. So every day you can do that. Okay, so by the end of the week, if the manager wants to check that, he can check. So it is recorded in computer and also stored in files and folders. So at any point of time, you can take a report of that. Processes include business processes, procedures, and policies of your organization. If you have a system for the leave, okay, employee leave information system, then every company will have certain rules for employee leaves and all. So based on those rules, that will be the process over there. So they will consider that whenever a particular employee takes a leave, in the system we will input that data, that is that person has taken leave. So there will be this many casual leave, sick leave, and you will have vacation leave or whatever leaves you have. So the particular leave will be deducted from the total leave. And then what is the remaining leave that particular employee has, that will be there. So every day or every week, according to what is happening in the industry or organization, data can be fed into that, and at any point of time, if it's the case of that leave, any point of time, everyone, the person who is involved, whoever is taking leave, can find out the leave status, or if the company manager wants to see the status of a particular employee's leave, he can just go in and check the leave status. So these are practices that guide the users and other components work efficiently. Business procedures are developed by the people, that is users, consultants. The procedures will be developed and it will be already there. So based on the procedure or process, data will be handled in the MIS system. So hardware consists of the computers, printers, networking devices that are involved in MIS. Hardware provides the computing power for the processing data. It also provides networking and printing capability. So hardware, you know what are the hardware parts of any computer. So those same parts are here also. Now you have the software. You will have 2 types of software. One is the application software and the other is the system software. System software refers to the operating system like Windows, Mac OS and Ubuntu. Okay, and you will have application software based on your MIS system. Software, application software refers to specialized software for accomplishing business tasks. So what is the function of your management information system? So that will be fulfilled by this particular software. So example for MIS system is payroll program, payroll, banking systems, okay, ERP systems. These are some of the examples for MIS system. So this is a figure showing the MIS system with all the 5 components: people, processes, data, hardware and software. So that's all about the MIS system. So these are the 6 main controlling technique used in any organization. Let me repeat that: budgets, financial statements, return on investment, Gantt chart, then you have PERT, and the last one was MIS. So these are the 6 controlling techniques that are available. Any organization can use any one of these or multiple of these 6 control techniques. Now let's move on to the controls of overall performance. Overall performance. Now we were so far we were talking about department managers controlling or area managers controlling techniques. Also we need to consider overall performance of the organization. So we need to control the overall performance, not just one department. There will be multiple departments in the organization. We need to control all the departments together in order for the organization to perform well. So overall controls are designed to measure the success of organization as a whole against organizational objectives. So when we learned about the objectives of management, we have seen that there will be objective for the top level management, there will be objective for the middle level management, and there will be objectives for the lower level management. So the top level management always looks at the entire organization. Middle level manager will always look in maybe a particular department, okay, according to his responsibility, and lower level also likewise. Okay, but always the top level management will be focusing on the overall performance. So how can you control or find out, or how can you make your organization work well, or how can you control the entire organization? So need or overall controls arise from the following 3 points. So overall planning is applied to enterprises or major division goals. So controls must also be applied. Why we should have controls for overall performance? Why we should have that? Individually each department is controlling. That will be enough. Why we are going for overall performance? Because the first point is we have a overall goals are set. Overall goals are set for the organization by the top level management. So we should have overall performance control also. Second point is decentralization creates semi-autonomous units which must be subjected to overall controls to avoid complete autonomy. Decentralization, you know what is meant by decentralization. You will be dividing your authority. The authority or control will not lie in one particular person, and the authority or control will be given to multiple people so that not only one person is responsible, everyone will be responsible. Okay, so what happens when decentralization is applied? It will create semi-autonomous units. So semi-autonomous means small independent units are created that way. But there should be overall control for complete. What happens if each individual unit try to decide and do things, sometimes they may move away from the overall goal of the organization. So that should not happen. So there should be a control over the entire performance of all the units together. Did you understand? So decentralization will lead to semi-autonomous unit, and it may lead to complete autonomy to those units. So that should not happen. Complete autonomy should not be given to any particular unit. If the authority is totally given to a particular unit, what happens? They will take up decisions according to their liking, and sometimes they may move away from the main objective of your organization. So we need to control. So that is another use of control of overall performance. And the third one is overall control enables the measurement of integrated area managers' total effort rather than part of it. You know, certain managers will be working in 2 or 3 units. Okay, so whenever you are calculating the performance of one unit, you may get only the performance of that manager in that unit. But if that manager is working in multiple units, you won't be able to measure his entire effort. So overall performance should also be controlled and monitored. Okay, otherwise, you know, if you are monitoring just one unit, okay, that part he'll be doing fine. But if he is involved in another unit also, we need to check that one also. So for that we need overall control. So these are the 3 points why we need overall performance control. Next is global controlling. Controlling poses special challenges if a company engages in multinational business factors like distance, culture, language and practices, creating barriers to effective control. This is global controlling means if your company is not within the country, if it is extended to some other countries also, then you will have to control that section of your company also, or that division of your company also. There the culture will be different, language barriers will be different, so you have to find a way to control globally. Meetings, reporting and inspections are typically part of the international control system. So regular meetings should be conducted with people who are working in other company divisions in other countries, reporting. Okay, what is happening over there, you should have the reports, and inspections, regular inspection should be done in the other divisions of your company. Global managers have to understand the culture of the place in which they are operating to make their managerial action successful. You know, whenever an organization have multiple divisions in multiple countries, it will be tedious for the managers. The managers who is in control of a particular country, that person should know the culture of that country, the environment of that country. Okay, so only then he can interact with the people over there. The people who will be working in your organization will be mostly from that country itself. Okay, so they will have that country's culture. So you should know the culture of that country, how you should interact with them. Okay, what is their style? Okay, what is the economic condition of that country? All these things. Then only you will be able to control properly. So that's all about global controlling. So we today I discussed about the controlling techniques, PERT and MIS, and then what are the needs for the entire overall controlling of the organization, not just unit controlling, and also we have seen the importance of global controlling. So that's the end of controlling. Thank you.